10,000 fearless on the move.
Let's go.
Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi, Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the move.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, and welcome to another edition of the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. I am your brother, friend, and host, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad, and please allow me to begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness to the oneness of God, the oneness of his prophets, and the oneness of the scriptures that were revealed through them to the whole of humanity. We bear witness there is no God but he, regardless of the name, land, or language we choose to apply. Because as spiritually mature people, we understand that God has made himself known according to the language and culture of the people, amongst whom he raises his prophets, messengers, and warners. We thank him for Moses in the Old Testament. We thank him for Jesus in the gospel, and we certainly thank him for Muhammad and the Holy Quran. Peace be upon them all. Please allow me to greet you with the greeting words of peace in the Semitic language of all of the prophets. And that includes Jesus, you know. He didn't say hello, what's up, what's happening. He didn't say peace be unto you in English. He said it in his native tongue of Aramaic or Arabic, and it sounded just like this. Assalamu alaikum. And in English, that means peace be unto you. Brothers and sisters, we have another good, exciting program for you tonight. I was able to catch up with some good brothers who are doing good work down in Mississippi. And tonight we will have live on the podcast a team of brothers who's helped to secure justice for our brothers who were victimized by Rankin County officers, the Goon Squad. We've talked with one of the attorneys, Malik Zulu Shabazz, on a previous episode of the podcast, along with national activist John C. Barnett. And tonight we will be having a conversation with the lead attorney on this case. That'll be Attorney Trent Walker. And of course, our brother, the activist, will be coming back because he's still swinging hard down in the Delta. Our brother, national activist John C. Barnett. So that's what we have in store. He's going to be giving us an update on the Goon Squad, their sentencing, and he's going to go into some details of the case that you really need to hear so you'll understand the depth to which these officers went to conceal their misdeed. And man, that's putting it lightly. It's far deeper than a misdeed. Their crime, their evil, their wickedness, the lengths to which they were willing to go to do that. And that'll help us understand some things, brothers and sisters, hopefully. But before we get into that, of course, we're going to have the farm report coming from our brother, our student in the Ministry of Agriculture, Brother William Muhammad, and we look forward to getting that report from him. And we're going to listen to, I'll save that part because I got a little clip I want us to listen to relative to what has happened with this case that came out of Jackson, Mississippi. Let me go ahead and get some shouts out to the brothers and sisters that have tuned in. Our student prison reform minister down there in Marshall County in North Mississippi, student minister James Muhammad is on. Thank you, my brother, for tuning in. Got my brother Keith Muhammad on. I see brother John C. is in the wings and ready to go. At 7:30, we're going to be bringing him up. And of course, our brother Trent Walker, he's going to call in because we did a little test earlier. His volume wasn't quite as loud as I needed to be. I want you all to hear this brother loud and clear. So he'll be calling in at about 7:25, and we look forward to the conversation. Once again, thanks to those brothers, and I think I'm going to go ahead and applaud them right now, and I will continue to applaud these brothers because we need to really encourage them to stay in the fight and keep the faith and stay the course and keep fighting hard, and we need to begin to do what we can to galvanize behind these brothers to secure some measure of justice for our people who are suffering these kinds of injustices in Mississippi and throughout the Delta, Louisiana, Georgia, and Alabama down there, in those small communities where this kind of behavior has been normalized by these types of law enforcement agencies, these smaller agencies, okay? So we're going to get started, but before we get started, I got to get to my axioms. And axioms is what undergirds our conversation. And I always define it, and so you'll know and understand what I mean by an axiom. An axiom is a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evidently true to serve as a premise for or starting point for further reasoning and arguments, okay? So the axioms I use are from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I have one from Marcus Garvey. I have one from Carter G. Woodson and others. But I always start with these two from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, wherein he said, quote, "He who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes for you the circumference of your activity." That's relevant today because the way they report these news stories, they do the best that they can to conceal the worst of it. So God willing, we want to see all of it in its inglorious splendor, just the depth to which these criminals went. Criminals with badges on. And yes, that happens. I know that sounds strange coming from a brother like myself. It shouldn't, because if we're fighting crime, no matter where it comes from, when it's exposed to the light of truth, then it should wither away and die as it should. The second one from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his definition of a slave he gave us, where he said, "A slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master." Ooh, think about that, brothers and sisters. Power and authority rule. See, we don't rule anything. We don't control media. We don't control our narrative. We don't control our economics. We really don't control our politics. We're always subject to someone else. We even teach our children to go get educated to ultimately be controlled by somebody else, because we teach them to go get a good education and come out and go get a job. Get a job from who? Get a job from the children children's children of the people who are our former slave masters and all their good intentions. That's cool. We thank you for the jobs. But we got to run something, brothers and sisters. We got to have something to call our own. Because as the song says, Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that has his own. So the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has said to us, and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has continued to teach us, we must do something for ourselves or suffer the consequences, okay? Now, the third axiom that I'll share with you is going to come tonight from a man named Victor Hugo. And a lot of this is still going on because a lot of our people are just still poorly informed. It's a quote that Dr. King used in his talk in the wake of the uprising, and it's entitled Crisis in American Cities. And he quoted a Mr. Victor Hugo who said, "If the soul is left in darkness, sins will be committed. The guilty one is not he who commits the sin, but he who causes the darkness." So this platform, brothers and sisters, is striving hard to serve as an avenue by which light can dispel the darkness of ignorance so our people can be better informed, and whatever little nuances we can add to that end in accomplishing that goal, we're going to be found doing our best from where we are to make that happen. So that's why I am so happy that these brothers accepted our humble invitation to come to be on our podcast. So there you have our axioms. We're going to get started, but before we get started, we got to support those and highlight those who support us, okay? So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these commercial announcements.
12, chilling in the studio, taking over the world. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you no harm. I say assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you know, I don't mean you know. See, I come in peace, ain't nobody I am.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but 0 fluoride and 0 chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water. 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
On the move. Yes, we are back here live with the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. I am your host and brother, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad, and we have our farm report up next, and we got our brother William Muhammad on the phone line. Brother William, you there, sir? Uh-oh. I know he was there.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Wa alaikum salam. Loud and clear, my brother. I can hear you now. How you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm doing fine by the grace of Allah. How you doing?
Man, doing the best I can to hold this thing down here, man. What you got on tap for us today, brother, in terms of the farm report?
Yes, sir. About pretty much the same as last week. You know, we just trying to hope for some better days. We got more rain coming, and it's the rain that's kind of holding things up at the Kingdom Farm with Brother Musa. So we've been trying to get things to dry. I've had a few days of no rain. It was trying to get a little better, but we got more rain just coming in today, and I think some is going to be in tomorrow. So I hope it don't do us too bad. And we're still dealing with the trays. You know, we planted seeds in the trays, and so we can't put those out until we're able to get back out there in the field, you know, and plant. Yes, sir.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. So we pretty much got a mirror image or a repeat song, same song, second verse tonight for what you reported last week. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, pretty much. Also, you know, just wanted to remind everyone who was listening, the Staple Goods 25, which is the Minister of Agriculture of the Nation of Islam, giving people the chance to order staple goods. You know, we need to be putting some food up that we can store back. And we're asking everybody that's listening, if you're already preparing to order, please reach out to your neighbors, your friends, your loved ones, and anybody else that you may or may not even know. You know, give them the opportunity to order some food, some dry goods that they can put up for themselves for hard times.
Very good, very good. Brother, we are certainly looking forward to ordering. I know my household is. I think there's a couple of things we need to get ordered, brother, and make sure that we are going to be well fortified for the potentiality of not just the scarcity of food, but the increase in the price of food. And we got our brother John C. on. I'm going to mute him for a minute. I'm so glad that our brother is logged on. But in the event that food prices just start to soar, man, and they are already getting up there now. So it's not just for the lack of the availability of food, but, you know, it's good to have bulk, you know, and we should start some little food clubs in our little neighborhoods, go get staple goods and purchase it together and break it down and divvy up amongst one another. So, brother, that'll begin April 21st. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what's the website, brother? Did you just say the website? Did I miss that people can go order?
Yes, sir. The website is noamoa.org. That's noamoa.org.
Good. That's N as in November, O as in Oscar, A as in Apple, M as in Mike, O as in Oscar, A as in Apple again, .org. All right, NOAMOA.org. So log on, family.
NOI.
I'm sorry, NOIMOA.
Yes, sir, NOI. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nation of Islam Ministry of Agriculture. That's what that stands for.
Let's say that again. NOIMOA.org. Okay, now we got it, brother.
Yes,
thank you for the correction. So anything else before we leave, Brother William?
That's going to be it for right now. Inshallah, next week we'll have some more things to add to what we're doing with the Ministry of Agriculture. Because what we're trying to do also is get people involved in starting farm co-ops.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Sir. Well, praise be to Allah, brother. Thank you so much, man, for the report from the farm. And we're going to keep pushing, brother. And it's not a sprint. Now, what we do is not a sprint. What we do is a marathon, okay? I remember hearing that somewhere. Sir. Isn't that what Brother Nipsey Hussle used to say on the West Coast, brother? It's a marathon. The marathon continues. Marathon. That's the Bible bears witness. The race ain't to the swift. The battle ain't to the strong. It's those that can endure. So that's a marathon. So thank you, my brother. Inshallah, we'll talk again next week. Please give your family our love and greetings. I see your queen is on with us tonight, Sister Marissa. I'm sure she got the babies listening right along with her. Thank you all so much for your support, dear brother. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
That was our brother and friend, a student in the Ministry of Agriculture, Brother William Muhammad, who is always on deck, moving around, trying to make things happen, brothers and sisters. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're at that time to bring in our guests. Before we do that, I want to give some shout outs. I always want to thank those who have tuned in. Thank you so much, dear brothers and sisters, for your unwavering support. The students and the brothers and sisters in the Holly Springs Study Group, and those of our listeners that are familiar with us. And we just want to thank you all for taking time out of your evening, tuning in. Want to send some shouts out, of course, down south to our satellite locations in the great state of Mississippi, starting in Hattiesburg with Brother Kazim and his family and the believers there. In Hattiesburg, if you're near Hattiesburg, you want to learn more about the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Contact our brother Kazim Muhammad down in Hattiesburg if you're in that area. Come up a little further north if you happen to be in Jackson, Mississippi, which is where all of these fireworks we're going to talk about took place, in the courthouses in Jackson, Mississippi. Our mosque number 78 is down there, and under the leadership and stewardship of student minister Abram Muhammad. So if you're in Jackson or close by, if you want to learn more about these life-giving teachings, go and visit our brother student minister Abram Muhammad in Jackson, Mississippi. Come a little further north, you'll land right there in Greenville, Mississippi, where student minister Larry Muhammad and the believers there. If you want to learn more and you're close to that area, stop there in Greenville, Mississippi, the Nation of Islam Study Group under the leadership of student minister Larry Muhammad. Come a little further north, a little further north, you'll stop in the Low, better known as Tupelo, Mississippi, where you should run into our brother and friend student minister Conway Muhammad and the believers there. You want to learn more and you're close to Tupelo, Mississippi, stop there and holler at our brother and friend, student minister Conway Muhammad. And if you come a little over 70 miles further north, over into Marshall County, Mississippi, in the city of Holly Springs, you're running to yours truly, your brother and friend. I am a student in the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Muhammad Study Group number 78A, right there in Holly Springs, Mississippi. We're located at 165 North Memphis Street. Come visit with us on Sundays at 10 o'clock a.m. Our doors open promptly at 9:30. If you want to hear more of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by our brother, friend, and our leader and teacher and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. My message for this Sunday, dear brothers and sisters, in case you're wondering, it is entitled, The Two Conspicuous Ways, the two paths that we have to choose from that God has pointed out, and they're conspicuous. We'll go deeper into that with the help of Allah this coming Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. Also, shouts out to our companions who are in the struggle, to our brothers and sisters down there, Yaga, the New Black Panther Party down that way, the Geronimo Plaque Gun Club, the Black Liberation Movement, the conservative vice lords down there that are doing good work, good community work, and encouraging our young people away from gang violence. Yeah, I know y'all said, what? Ain't there a gang? So you need to study a little bit of history. You may learn a little more. Our growth and development brothers and sisters down there, yes, they are part of the pantheon of those who struggle for what is right and for what is good and in the best interest of the whole of our people. There you have it. So now, we are at that time. I wish I had a drum roll or something, but I don't. Yes, I do, but I don't want to spend time looking for it. So I'm going to bring my brother John C. Barnett in, and he's there sitting in the wings. Assalamu alaikum, Brother John. You there?
Peace and blessing, my brother. How you doing?
Yes, I'm blacktastic, brother. I'm just waiting on my other brother to call in. I asked him to call in directly because his volume coming through the main switchboard was not as loud as I hear you right now. And Brother Trent should be calling in momentarily. I told him to hit me up right at around 7:25, and it is exactly 7:25. So, and just as I said that, here he's calling in. And we also have with us the lead attorney for our brothers who suffered great suffering at the hands of Rankin County deputies, our brother lead attorney Trent Walker. Brother Trent, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Just one quick correction. Brother Malik Shabazz is actually the lead attorney.
Oh, okay.
I am local Mississippi counsel.
Okay.
And so just to be clear, on this particular case, he is the lead.
Brother, thank you so much for that correction. And we want to be actual with our facts. So thank you for that correction, dear brother. I must have misread what I was reading. Okay. But brothers, let me begin by first and foremost thanking the two of you for accepting our humble invitation to come and be on our platform to further discuss and give us an update on what has happened and perhaps what's on the horizon for this historic kind of event. I shouldn't say kind of, it's really historic. And before we begin, Brother Attorney Walker, if you would be so kind, brother, please introduce yourself at your leisure to our listening audience so we'll get a little bit to know a little bit about you, okay?
Okay, just very briefly, my name is Trent Walker. I am a 28-year practicing attorney in Jackson, Mississippi. My primary areas of practice are criminal law, workers' compensation, personal injury, and at this point, I now do police brutality and excessive force cases, which I was not previously doing prior to this case and a couple of others that I have joined Brother Malik Shabazz in.
Great. Excellent. Thank you for that, dear brother. And of course, this brother is going to just do a reintroduction of himself, but I still want you all to still be reminded of who he is and what he does. My brother, John C. Barnett, if you would reintroduce yourself to the listening audience.
Yes, sir. Brother John C. Barnett. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and shout out to my big brother, Attorney Trent Walker. Appreciate everything he's done for Michael Jenkins and Andy Parker. I'm a national civil rights activist. We've been blessed to go to 17 cities, and Brother Malik, Attorney Shabazz, put me in place as the spokesman for Michael, just to get the message out. There's some things that activists can do that lawyers can't do, and there's some things that lawyers can do that activists can't do. But I want to make sure and let your listeners know that because after my brother was shot in 1994, I went to something called the Million Man March. And Minister Farrakhan told us on that day to write one brother in jail or in prison. And I came home and wrote my brother's killer in prison, which was my cousin. He shot my brother over a pair of tennis shoes. And then we later wrote a lot of inmates, created prison outreaches. And then the next thing I know, I'm national in civil rights. So I want to thank Minister Farrakhan and all of his followers and supporters for inspiring me at the Million Man March to do what I'm doing today.
Man, do you see the ripple effect all these years later? Those men who were inspired, and I can just imagine, brother, nearly 2 million men showed up. How many more brothers like yourself are where they are in their sphere of influence and in their areas of battle, keeping the light lit and carrying the torch to do what it is that we pledged to do on the mall that day. So, brother, thank you for that reintroduction. Also, brother, I think you have another listening device. If you can turn it down, I'm getting a little echo from you, Brother John C. So,
sure will.
Yes, sir. Great. Because I really want the audience to hear what you brothers will potentially share with us. Now, before we begin, this story, well, we are beginning, not before. To begin, this story of what happened in Rankin County, it's made national news, but in my humble opinion, it hasn't necessarily gained national attention because there's a lot of stuff come on the news that's just on the news, but it doesn't necessarily get get the traction nationally in terms of being on the mind and the consciousness of those who watch the news. Okay, so if you would, beginning with you, Brother Attorney Walker, could you share with our audience some of the details of this case that we really need to hear, that you think we really need to hear to understand how egregious this crime was that the deputies committed?
Well, I'm going to tell you that it almost hurts to talk about how bad this was, and especially, given some of the follow-up that's been done by the Mississippi Today online magazine, as well as the New York Times, who have worked in conjunction to find other victims. But with regard to this particular case, and this case, what's important is that it brought to light the brutality that everybody knew was going on, but it was always word of mouth. And in this particular case, what happened was so brutal that it could not be denied. So on January 24th of 2023, a little about 15 months ago, Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins were at the home where Eddie Parker lived. The home was owned by a white woman who was paralyzed, and Eddie was living there as her caretaker. He had known this woman since high school. I believe she got paralyzed in an accident, needed a caretaker, so Eddie was serving in that particular role. So this is in rural Rankin County, in the southern part of the county, and there are not a lot of black people, if any, that live in this particular area.
Yes, sir.
So apparently, one of the neighbors called Brett McAlpin. Brett McAlpin was the chief investigator of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, and he was the fourth in charge of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department.
Wow.
So in law enforcement language, S1 would be the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
So Brett McAlpin would have been S4.
Wow.
So Brett McAlpin, when he got this complaint from the neighbor saying that there were some suspicious looking black men at this house, or there were black men at the house acting suspiciously, he called Christian Dedman, who was a 28-year-old investigator, and told Dedman to take care of it. Dedman then called together a group of people who have become known as the Goon Squad. But what needs to be remembered in this particular case is that the Goon Squad was the name of that shift, which is the night shift of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department.
Okay. And
what also is important to remember here is that the lieutenant in charge of the shift, Middleton, who's the lieutenant, was present.
Wow.
When all this occurred.
And he wasn't the highest ranking on the scene. It was Brett McAlpin.
Well, McAlpin would have been the highest ranking on the scene.
Gotcha.
But Middleton was the shift lieutenant.
Okay, gotcha.
And so he was present. So there were 6 officers, there were 5 Rankin County officers. And there was one officer who actually was employed by the City of Richland, Mississippi, City of Richland Police Department. So he wasn't even a Rankin County Sheriff's Department employee.
He was out of his jurisdiction.
He was out of his jurisdiction. As it turns out, he was at a barbecue or otherwise with Dedman. Dedman asked him to ride along.
Wow.
And so they got here. They had exchanged emails that basically said, here is the way that we're going to approach and do this. Make sure that there's no cameras that can catch us. And if we don't see any cameras, then, we're going to go. So they got there, ascertained that there was a camera. There was indeed a camera over the front door. So they went to the garage door, kicked the garage door in, and then they all entered the home, immediately apprehended Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, put them into handcuffs, and then for somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, began to torture them. And by torture, what we specifically mean is that they were beaten with fists. They were kicked. They were beaten with objects anywhere from a 2x4 to a sword to a wooden kitchen spoon.
Excuse me. Let me stop that, please. I keep forgetting to cut that off. But go ahead, my brother. I apologize for that.
They were tased repeatedly. We got the taser records. There were 6 pages of taser records that went on.
Wow.
Over almost an hour.
Good.
Where they were repeatedly tased while they were handcuffed.
Oof. Okay.
While they were completely subdued, while they were not resisting. In point of fact, these deputies decided that they would play a game of whose taser was the strongest, where they would use Hartfield, who was the Richland police officer. They would take his taser, and then they would tase the 2 guys, and then they would take a Rankin County issued taser and tase them and ask them whose taser was the strongest. So they were making a game of this.
Wow.
And that this went on for, as I said, almost an hour. So then they went into the refrigerator and the cabinets of the house. They took liquor that they found. They took chocolate syrup that they found. They took water, and they used these items to waterboard these men.
Wow.
They took eggs out of the refrigerator. They pelted them with the eggs. They searched the house looking for drugs, and we now know there were no drugs in the house. Dedmon actually held his gun near Eddie Parker's head and fired into a wall of the house, trying to scare him into telling where were the drugs. And of course, drugs were non-existent. They kicked open a door. They went in that door. They found a BB gun, and they found a sex toy, a dildo. Excuse me, listening audience.
Now go right ahead.
They used they mounted the dildo onto the BB gun and forced the dildo into the mouths of these 2 young men. And then they attempted, Dedmon in particular, attempted to turn Michael Jenkins over so that he could anally penetrate him with the dildo. And the only thing that stopped him was that he had, or that Michael Jenkins had been tased so many times that he had soiled himself.
Man. Good God.
And so at that point in time, realizing that we cannot take these 2 men to jail like this, even though they didn't have a warrant, had no reason to be at the house, found no drugs in the house, they couldn't take them to jail in the condition that they were in, with all the liquor and chocolate syrup and milk and so forth that they had poured all over them and used to waterboard them. They made these 2 grown men shower all these items off, made these 2 grown men shower together.
Wow.
And when they came out, they had them put on new clothes. And at that point in time, they continued to tase them. And then one of the officers, Hunter Elward, attempted a mock execution. And in that mock execution, he inserted a gun into Michael Jenkins's mouth. And the first time he had palmed the bullet and he dry fired. Then he racked the slide of the gun, put another bullet into the chamber. And according to the statements that we get, he thought it was going to dry fire again. But when he pulled the trigger a second time, the gun went off and the bullet almost tore Michael Jenkins' tongue off. It had to be reattached. The bullet came through his jaw and came out of his neck. And it is only by the grace of God and the angle of the gun inserted into his mouth that Michael Jenkins was able to survive that.
That's right.
Because an inch back to the center and he would have been dead.
Brother.
And so at that point, you would think that that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
These men did not call for medical assistance. They went out on the back porch and started getting their lie together about how they were going to explain this. And Brett McAlpin, and what you have to remember, McAlpin lived like a mile away. So when these people called him, these were his neighbors calling him, saying that these are some suspicious black men here. So they knew they had GPS trackers on their trucks. So he left to go home and said, call me back in a few minutes and I'll come back up here like I'm just now getting this call. They went out on the back porch. Now, at this point, Michael Jenkins is still laying on the floor bleeding. They have not called 911. Yes, they have not called 911. Or otherwise, they went and got their lie straight first. And what they said was that we're going to say that we came here for a knock and talk. And he took off running. When we caught him, we searched him. He had drugs in his pocket. So they planted drugs because Dedmon had drugs in his car that he should have turned into evidence, but he didn't. They were in his car, and they submitted those drugs saying that Michael Jenkins had those drugs on him when that was planted. Wow. So then they said, well, to explain the shooting, Middleton, who's the shift lieutenant, said, well, I keep a gun in my car for the purpose of planting it in case there's a shooting that goes bad. So it's a drop gun. And he keeps one. So we can use that gun. So they said, no, we'll use the BB gun that we planted the dildo on. We'll say he picked up the BB gun and that caused Elwood to have to shoot him. So that was their story. Then they went to Eddie Parker and said, hey, look, you just go along with the story that we are concocting, and we'll make sure that everything goes all right for you. And indeed, Eddie Parker left the jail the next morning on his own recognizance without having to post bond. He left the jail walking on his own 2 feet.
Eddie Parker.
Yes, but thank the Lord. Eddie Parker said this cannot stand. When he got where he was going, he took his cell phone and started recording the scene, and he recorded a video and said, this is where this happened. This is where that happened. These are the eggs that they were using, that they were throwing, the pelters. Here's the blood that's on the floor from where they shot Michael. Here's the dildo that's still on the floor that they used to torture us. Here is, all this other evidence. Wow. These officers were so dirty, they stole stuff from the house. Items that were personal to the house, like bar mats, and I think that somebody had an army uniform. They stole those things.
Wow.
And so they just basically acted like a bunch of common thieves. And so Eddie recorded all this. He told his mother and his aunt, and everything just kind of took off from there. And at this point in time, Michael is under arrest in the hospital, handcuffed to the bed, and the Rankin County Sheriff's Department would not give his family any information about him. His mother couldn't get anybody to call back. When she finally got somebody on the phone, she said, when can I see my son? They said, you can see him when we let you see him because he's our property.
Whoa.
That's right.
Not your arrestee, but that he's
our
under
property.
That's the language they use.
That's the language they use. His mother has told this multiple times, and her version has not wavered.
And of course, they deny it. They deny it, correct?
No, at this point in time, that particular part is the least of their worries. So that has not really even been there for them to admit or deny. Okay. But here is what is important for the listening audience to understand is everything I just told you is not our version of events. Everything I just told you is what All 6 of them stood in open court in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi and admitted that that's what happened.
So these are their words.
These are their words. These, some of these are allegations that we made when we filed our lawsuit, but these are their words. These are not our, we went off of what we knew at the time. But at the time, we didn't know anything about Christian Dedman firing a gun, trying to scare Eddie Parker. Eddie was so traumatized, he didn't even remember that.
Man.
See, that's stuff that came out from the U.S. government that they told the U.S. government happened. We didn't know that they planted the drugs. If you look at our lawsuit, we didn't accuse them of planting drugs. And we never said anything about a drop gun. So that's not something that we made accusations about. That's what they admitted
to the feds. Okay.
That's right.
Man. Now, brother, I have a question. And now, do you have any more? I don't want to interrupt you because I really want our people to get a full face frontal view of the ugliness that happens to our people.
Well, I don't want to take up the entirety of the interview.
It's a lot.
So I think that everybody has that's what happened. But they went. But I do want to point this out too, based on these false charges, because they submitted the drugs to the crime lab saying they belong to Michael Jenkins. They filed false reports, all of them based on the lie that they concocted, and they filed those as their official reports. And see, what everybody needs to realize is they accused Michael Jenkins of felony assault on a police officer, felony aggravated assault, which carries up to 30 years.
That's
okay.
Right.
They accused him of felony drug possession of how much methamphetamine that carries up to 8 years. So he stood to serve possibly 38 years in prison for the lies that they made up. And his family had to pay to bond him out. And by that means that they had to pay a bail bondsman a $50,000 bond, which came to $5,000 cash dollars that they had to pay in order to get those handcuffs off of him and get the Rankin County Sheriff's deputy out of his hospital room.
Wow.
So not only have you done all this, you cost the family $5,000 to bail him out on your false charges while he was still hospitalized.
Good God Almighty.
So with that, I'll hand it back over. I think that's probably longer description than you thought about, but to be thorough, we had to go through all that.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate that greatly, brother, because it's breathtaking, man, because myself being in law enforcement for 30 years now, I can't even imagine. I can't even put into words, man, just how egregious that is and how normalized that sounds, because you can't, and doing that line of work, you can't be that loose unless that is the culture that has been so normalized that the officers have to be comfortable and confident enough to do it with the belief that they'll get away with it. So
and that is because they have gotten away with it so many times.
Yes.
Yeah. It's their culture and their nature.
Yeah. There you go. It's been their nature. So
and what's important for the listening audience to remember is they would still be getting away with it, but for the fact that Hunter Elwood shot Michael Jenkins in the mouth.
That's
right.
And there is no explaining how an entry wound comes from the inside of the mouth. Because, you gotta, even if you say I shot him in the face, okay, well, how come he still got his lips and his teeth?
Yeah. They couldn't explain that away, brother. The ballistics,
the only
all
thing.
of that, and the entry and exit wound, and that was the next thing. I'm glad you went ahead and pulled it out, because if you put a gun in a person's mouth and fire it, the entry is going to be from the inside of the mouth, of course.
That's right.
And that's why they couldn't figure out. Okay, they had a great plan. They had
when you get to that point, the dominoes kind of start to fall at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but
sir.
I will also say there probably was, at least in the beginning, a natural inclination for the investigators to maybe believe the first story.
Uh-huh.
But thank God for people who do not let things rest.
Right.
You know, in particular, Mrs. Jenkins, his mother, who has been tireless. Now, Mr. Jenkins, his father, has been undergoing some health challenges.
Uh-huh.
So he probably was not as active as he would have been if he was 100% healthy man.
Uh-huh.
And you have to credit Mrs. Jenkins because she was trying to make sure that her son was all right at the same time that she's trying to make sure that her husband was in good health.
Good. Okay. And speaking of being active, I paid attention to you, Brother Barnett, as it relates to you doing your dead level best, brother, to publicize and publish the activity, the meetings in front of courts, the having the family out, giving press conferences. You know, sometimes people look at this kind of activism and don't really understand the necessity of it. But in light of what Brother Attorney Walker just shared with us, Brother Trent, Brother John, Brother Barnett.
Yes, sir.
Share with us, brother, what you had to go through to keep this out front and to keep light on it, because we know how dark it is in the Delta as it relates to these kinds of things that happen and how they cover it up and it never sees the light of day. What was your experience, brother?
Minister Farrakhan saying at the 17th anniversary, I believe, at the Million Man March in Charlotte, North Carolina, I obviously staged a press conference for him. And I remember him saying that, you know, they killed Dr. King, give you a national holiday, and put a pacifier in your mouth and rock you back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Max multiple times in his chest in the Autoball ballroom, give him a street in Chicago, put a pacifier in your mouth, rock you back to sleep. Mm-hmm. Talked about Trayvon Martin being shot in his chest. Nobody wears any hoodies no more.
Uh-oh. I lost you, Brother John. Brother John?
Okay, so can you hear me now? I'm here now.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I hit the button by mistake. So in saying all of that, the pacifier just stayed with me. The way Minister Farrakhan was saying, they make it comfortable for us. So I had to make sure that we keep this alive. Similar to George Floyd. His case did not die for 18 months. When Reverend Sharpton and Benjamin Crump began to work on that case, every month you were seeing the video on the news. And I think it's very important, numb to death.
Uh-huh.
We're so numb to murder. We're so numb to black on black crime, and it just don't even affect us no more. It's like going to pick flowers.
Right.
And so in saying that, I knew in Mississippi, there's two things. They said there are two things that Malcolm X and Tupac Shakur was killed not because they had a lot of money. They said that they were assassinated or killed because they had the ability to electrify people.
Right.
And I believe that today, I believe that we have to electrify our people. And I knew that going to Mississippi over almost 12 times, Brother Malik would say, John, we got to go to Mississippi this weekend. And going down there multiple times, I counted not robbery, because I knew every time I go down there, I had to challenge the Goon Squad, but I had to go to a local black church and wake up our people.
Yes,
and say, y'all got to continue this fight. And when I look at Dr. King and others as they fought for the Montgomery bus boycott, I thought it was just 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know it took a whole year.
Uh-huh.
And so part of my work, and which is a blessing from God, that I've been full-time in civil rights, 17 years, is that I make sure that I electrify people and keep their eyes on the prize. And I think we get very comfortable with death. I mean, nobody's wearing hoodies no more for Trayvon.
Right.
Nobody's saying hands up, don't shoot for Michael Brown.
Uh-huh.
Those cases are stale in the eyes of our people. So I knew in Mississippi, one of the key factors that we have to do, I've yet, brother, to meet a black pastor.
Good God.
But I haven't met one black pastor. I go to Georgia, I'm fighting for the Fulton County Jail. We got a lawsuit going on, brother getting killed in the jail down there. I find pastors. I go to South Carolina, I find pastors. I haven't met one pastor in Mississippi yet. And yet they're inside the house looking out the window. And I still got to go down there in a couple of weeks, still to try to encourage them to get outside, get from behind that window and come out and fight. Me and Brother Malik, coming from Maryland and North Carolina, should not have to go to Mississippi when they got hundreds of men down there, thousands of men down there. And so my main goal is to not only challenge with fighting the Goon Squad, but fighting the mindset of a comfortable mindset of the people in Mississippi. And so if we had not went down there and exposed it, if Trent Walker had not fine-tuned Brother Malik's civil suit that we filed, as you don't know, if many of your listeners may not know, for $400 million. I asked Brother Malik, I said, why you ask for $400 million? George Floyd only got $27 million. He said, because we've been in slavery for 400 years.
Come on.
I said, interesting. I like that.
Yes,
and so not only do they do the legal part, but I think it's our part as activists to make sure we keep this case alive. Because watch this. As soon as we left last week, after they was facing Fed charges and they got sentenced for that, we did the state charges last week. I spoke at the press conference there. Brother Trent Walker spoke and Brother Malik. Lo and behold, as soon as I get back to North Carolina, just yesterday, one of the Goon Squads who took a freaking plea bargain has now said that he wants to do an appeal.
Yeah.
He wants, and rightfully so in his mind, because he said he told the feds everything, so he think he should get a break. And he got, I think, 27 years. Brother Trent can correct me on that. So now, as soon as I get back home, he's saying he want to do an appeal to get his time down a little bit more. Wow. So guess what? Do I have to go back to Mississippi, or do I got to get one of those pastors behind those curtains to come back? That's my challenge.
Oh, brother.
Now, I do want to make one slight correction to what Brother Barnett said.
Yes, sir.
And I will join him in saying that I've been largely disappointed with the level of participation by the black clergy. Having said that, I got to shout out two ministers who have been present from the beginning. One of them lent us his church on multiple occasions. One of them, the very first meeting we had was at his church, and that is Pastor Ava Harvey at the Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church.
Give her a round of applause.
No, it was actually him.
Oh, him? Give him a round of applause.
Him. Yeah, Pastor Ava Harvey and Pastor Ricky Sutton at the Mount Carmel Ministries in Pearl, Mississippi.
Come on now, we got to clap them up. Giving them a round of applause.
Those two have been present and accounted for from the beginning. We had town halls. Pastor Harvey allowed us the use of his church when Brother Cornell West came to speak. Pastor Harvey allowed us the use of his church to host that rally. So I do have to give at least those two.
Come on, brother.
Because like Brother Barnett said, we expected a decent amount more participation from the black clergy that we did not see.
Yes, sir. Now, I have a question with regard to that. And I actually have the news story, brothers, of this man saying he wants to appeal the decision.
That's correct.
Matter of fact, it's only, it's about 1 minute and 38 seconds long. I'm going to play it for the listening audience. I want y'all to listen to what was reported by WLBT Channel 3 down there in Jackson, Mississippi. Listen at this report, family. I'm going to cue this up. Take a listen at this.
Highest-ranking convicted member of the Rankin County Goon Squad, Brett McAlpin, now wants to fight his federal sentence handed down nearly a month ago.
There's just one problem with that. His appeal could violate his plea agreement with the feds. Investigative reporter CJ LeMaster shows us what he's uncovered tonight. CJ?
Courtney Ann Howard, it's something
y'all
you won't see
hearing that,
anywhere
right?
else. Former Rankin County Sheriff's Office investigator Brett McAlpin disagrees with the 27 years behind bars that a federal judge doled out just last month. Yesterday, he filed a notice to appeal the sentence, but has not said why at this point. Now, McAlpin made that initial call that led to the beating and torture of 2 black men more than a year ago. Prosecutors say he gave the orders too. He was the highest ranking officer of the 6 Goon Squad members.
Okay.
But his
I'm getting a message that they're not hearing it, so we won't worry about it. Suffice it to say, what they're saying in the news report, I just pulled it up online. Apparently it's not coming through. But his appeal could violate his plea agreement and could open the door for him to be tried again and given more time. So which says to me that Was he given the maximum time? How close to the maximum time is 27 years based on his involvement, Brother Walker?
Based on what he was charged with, and you kind of have to understand the federal system, they rely on sentencing guidelines, which are guidelines but are not required.
Right.
And based on what he was charged with and what he pled guilty to, he was sentenced at the top of the guidelines, which was, I believe, 327 months, if I'm not mistaken, which comes out to 27 and a half years.
Gotcha.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Good. Okay. Now, brothers, we've gotten a good picture, and I was going to take a break. I normally take a break at 8 o'clock, but I'm not going to take a break tonight because I'll do all of the advertisements at the end of this, because this is important for us to understand and to hear. Now, I want to kind of like transition into, you mentioned the lack of participation, the disappointment with it. And before I go there, I'm looking at another question I wanted to get to. What does this say, the conviction of these officers? Because one of our listeners, he made the point based on the question I'm going to ask. And I want to shout out Brother Osborne. And I'm gonna read your comment, Brother Osborne. Just to thank you for tuning in. I haven't seen you on before. He said many similar events have been uncovered. And then he asked the question, how many people are in prison today from these kinds of activities? So my question is, what does this say for all of the other cases and arrests that these officers have made?
I think that every last one needs to go back and be reviewed, if not overturned, because in my opinion, once you discover that you have a dirty officer who has falsified information in one instance, then you can bet your bottom dollar that he has falsified information in other instances. Currently, the district attorney of Rankin County has said that he is reviewing cases that were scheduled to go to court, and they have dismissed some of those. But to get directly to your question, how many cases over the length of the employment of at least these officers have gone to court, and on the word of these officers, people have been convicted? Because I can tell you for a fact that people have contacted my office and said that these people lied on me, that I didn't have drugs at all, that they planted drugs. Or I came in, they came in to raid and one person had drugs, but then they said that all three of us had drugs. And therefore used the drugs that were present on one person to convict three people, because, all they're doing is goosing their numbers.
Right.
It's correct. And it's countless.
What it also says, they don't give a damn about the freedom or the rights of people, that they would make felons out of people who would ordinarily be non-felons, or send people to prison who should be free.
Right.
In order to goose those numbers. That really says that they didn't give a damn about the community that they were supposed to be protecting.
Right.
That's correct. And I think also, to your point, Brother Trent and Brother Muhammad, you got to understand, not only is it old cases where we know if they was going to plant some methamphetamine or some drugs on Brother Michael Jenkins, Eddie Parker, that they've done it in the past. Yeah. But I think that electrification concept I told you, we are inspiring people to now file for charges. Ben Crump just left Mississippi a couple of days ago. We found 200 bodies behind a Mississippi jail, unaccounted for. He got to deal with that. He texted me a couple weeks ago saying, "So you need some civil rights?" He said, "I'm sure I'm going to need some. I'm going to call you when I get to Mississippi." So you're looking at not only past cases but present cases where people don't think that they can do anything about it. But because we made a historic move, brother, because I did not know until Brother Malik Shabazz told me. Shout out to my big brother anyway, Attorney Shabazz, fearless fighter and supporter and such a great attorney. He had said this is the first time ever in Mississippi history that officers of the law have ever gone to prison. I said, they've been torturing black folks for years down there. Yeah. It's the first.
Yes, sir. You still there, Brother Barnett? You dropped off.
Yeah. Not only do we have one locked up, we got 6 locked up, and I'm looking for some more.
Yes, sir. And you got that echo again too, Brother John, in the background.
Okay.
So
I sure will.
And you are electric in your presentation, brother. I feel your spirit through these microphones and through this laptop, and rightfully so. This should be something that should excite and electrify our people. And this is what I want to get to next in terms of electrifying our people, because this should serve as a catalyst or a hinge moment, of sorts, to cause our people to pivot and stop hiding, because I shouldn't say hiding, stop fearing and settling on the belief that, well, ain't nothing going to get done about it, so ain't no need to even worry about it. Our unity, brothers and sisters, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than a hydrogen bomb.
That's right.
Not just a gun, not just a rifle, not even a cannon, but a hydrogen bomb. I mean, that's like Hiroshima kind of stuff. So what he's saying to us is, when we unify and harness the power of our economics, harness the power, the collective power of our politics, harness the collective power of our narrative and our involvement, we won't even have to fire a shot. As Dr. King said, you don't have to throw a Molotov cocktail at these people. Withhold your dollar, engage in complete economic withdrawal from their behinds, and vote in such a way that our vote has actual power. Then we can make change, but we have to come from behind the pulpit, which is what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan demands of us as his students. We have to get out in the street and we have to get involved. So, question, what can we do from here, brother, to further electrify? Because that was one of the fears of COINTELPRO about this Messiah that they wanted to prevent the rise of. He said, prevent the rise of a Messiah who could electrify and unify the nationalist element in our community. What can we do, brothers, to do that, beginning in Mississippi, to get black folks involved?
Well, I would say support civil rights organizations.
Yes,
Earl
sir.
Potts, Black Panther, is the one that stayed on the phone multiple times with Brother Malik. Brother Michael Jenkins got shot January of 2023. We didn't really penetrate this case to April, give or take May of 2023. So it's, I think, empowering local activists. The LOC, very powerful down in Mississippi. Brother Kareem is doing a fundraiser right now. I think supporting local civil rights organizations and supporting and retaining Afro-American lawyers, because Brother Trent may, if he can correct me on this, I think there's only 5% of black lawyers in this country. That ain't good.
That's right.
5%. And so in saying that, I think it's very important to support these organizations. Dr. King died with $1,000 in the bank. Malcolm X, I believe the brother told me at the mosque in Charlotte that he died with $313 in the bank. So in saying that, very important that we support local civil rights organizations to keep them going. It ain't just about just getting on a camera. We do stuff behind the scenes and I think it's very important. Now more than ever do we need civil rights organizations. Black Lives Matter in California got millions of dollars. And God bless them for getting that, so it's needed. But I don't want them to change that. I don't want they change their colors once they begin to get the funding, because things happen when you get money. Keep it grassroots, because our people need to be grassroots. I'm not funded by no grant. I'm not funded by the government. I'm funded by our people. And I love it. I have power to speak and say whatever I want to say. And I want to close in saying this, brother, or kind of finalize these words. The number 2 fear, brother, in the country, Brother Muhammad, in the world, rather, a lot of people know what the number 1 fear is, and it's part of me trying to inspire people in Mississippi. That's my goal, is to inspire. The number 2 fear in the world is death. Why is that? Because people don't know what it feels like. Do you know what number 1 is, brother? Number 1 is public speaking. You know how scared you was to do an Easter speech? How scared you are to get in front of a class to do your presentation? How much fear your body gets numb to know that you got to get in front of people. And so in saying that, the number 1 fear in the world is public speaking. And we need our people to speak out, because we are getting lynched, beat, shot, and murdered every hour on the hour. And America as it is, the hate that hate produce aren't taking any breaks.
That's right. And brother, if you are you on speaker, Brother John?
I was trying to figure out how to get it off speaker.
Because that echo is killing you, man.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. We got your words, but we're just getting a double dose of them. And you are so right, brother. And that's why we came up with this podcast, because we want to serve as a platform and an information avenue that our people can come to and hear it unfiltered. Because, as I said when we opened, this incident has made national news, but it has not gained national attention. There is a difference, because to gain national attention is to be in heavy rotation on the news. See, when things happen, like what's the young girl that got kidnapped somewhere overseas on vacation, and they had to, and they Natalie Holloway or something like that.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things, brother, I mean, they make national news and they be discussions by the water cooler at work. But this, 2 black men that were tortured the way you described, Attorney Walker, it just ain't no discussion. And we've been so desensitized as black people to our own suffering that we don't even, that's normal. 2 more niggas got, beat up by the police. So what else is new? And that's a shame. That's a shame. Brother Attorney Walker, you wanted to say something in reference to what I just talked about, or just ask what it's going to take?
Well, actually, 2 things on the points that you just made. Number one, John Barnett just said that we have to support our organizations. And I do want to send a shout out to the Rankin County chapter of the NAACP, in particular, our sister, Angela English.
Yes, and I'm looking at the article where they did a Q&A with her.
And in point of fact, based on her work in this particular case, and to try to get the sheriff removed, she actually was flown to Los Angeles for the NAACP Image Awards, and I believe given an Image Award for the work that she's done. And she has been tireless and she's been fearless. And so I do encourage people, if the NAACP is not your bag, then as Brother Barnett said, okay, we'll use the local organizing committee.
That came out of the Million Man March.
But get involved, and I'm a veteran of the Million Man March also. I was in law school, and we took, I believe it was about 18 brothers from the Black Law Students Association. We got a van from the university. And the university said, look, just make sure it has as much gas in it when you get back as it was when you left. Didn't charge us. They let us have the van to go to the Million Man March. And so we did that back in 1995, and that'll always be one of my proudest moments that I did attend. But the second point that I was going to make in terms of the difference between something being in the national conscious and it getting temporary national coverage is, in this particular case, unlike most cases where there is national consciousness, in this particular case, there's no video.
Yes, sir.
Because one of the things I didn't say was, they were free to turn their body cams on and off as they felt like it. And there was nobody at the department that was checking to say, hey, why is your body cam not on for the entirety of your shift?
Right.
So that would be thing one. Nobody was checking the tasers to say, hey, why did you deploy your taser? Nobody was checking to say, hey, you fired your gun. Why did you fire your gun? Nobody was checking for those things.
Right.
And then most importantly, in this particular case, what I did not include when I was reciting facts a while ago,
yes, sir,
I did mention that there was, they saw a camera over the front door. They stole the hard drive of the surveillance system and threw it in a creek.
Ooh, you told me that when we were talking earlier. They stole. Say that again. So I want the audience to hear what you said. He just said what he said.
When they were concocting their cover-up as they were stealing. Like I said, they stole bar mats, they stole other items of interest to them out of the house. But what they also stole was the hard drive of the home surveillance system. And they stole that surveillance system, and one of the deputies took it with him and threw it in the creek.
Man, that's as criminal as it gets. That's as criminal as it gets.
And again, I'm not telling you what I'm saying. I'm telling you what they said.
And question, what was the motive? What was the base motive that was, because I mean, as an investigator, I investigate. And you know the questions as an investigators we ask who, what, when, where, how. And that final question, that's the most penetrating one that gives you the insight to motivation and what moved the person to do this thing. That question is why? What was the why of this, brother? Did it ever come out?
Well, two things. As I said in the very beginning, you had at least a neighbor who did not like black men in the neighborhood at the house and said that it was suspicious. And so that was racially motivated.
So it's a hate crime.
But what we need to be mindful of, there's a history of these officers doing this type of thing, and it was not necessarily motivated by race. It was usually motivated by drug use. So, and what you find there is you have a vulnerable population that you can take advantage of, that you can do anything to. And if it always comes down to your word versus theirs, then a jury or a judge or the general public is going to take the words of these supposedly upstanding police officers over the words of these drug addicts in a lot of cases. When these addicts said these people are abusing me or these drugs were planted or what have you, nobody believes that. You know, I've been practicing law 28 years.
Yes, sir.
There's been plenty of times when somebody said, hey, those weren't my drugs, they were planted. I'm sorry. I've heard that story before. Until you give me some separate documentation, I'm not going to go on your word that these drugs were planted. And I say this as a practicing criminal lawyer.
Yes, sir. Man.
But when you get into a case like this, where these officers have come forward and said, yes, I planted the drugs. Yes, I was willing to plant a firearm, but we just went with the BB gun instead. You know, we made up a case. We falsified our documentation and submitted it, which is, of course, as you know, a crime. And so, you know, we're willing to do all this to cover our tracks. And based on the people who've contacted my office and Brother Shabaz's office, have done it time and time and time again.
So this is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
It's the tip of the iceberg. So two things that the audience needs to be aware of. Number one, I've said this before and I'll say it again. These are not the only 6. These are the 6 that were available that night.
Yes, sir. So you got an entire culture. Now,
you have a culture, and these officers, at least 2, if not 3 of them, used that particular term, saying there was a culture of doing things. There was a culture of violence, was the word that one of them used.
Right. Exactly. I understand it,
brother. At their sentencing hearings.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, I do this. I understand it. Because in order for that level of misconduct to happen, there has to be an enabling environment, as I stated when we opened this podcast, when we opened our conversation, whereby that behavior is normal. Go look up the word normal, brothers and sisters. Not allowed, not just allowed, but normal. It's standard operating procedure. It's as normal as putting your key in the ignition of your car and cranking it when you're getting ready to go. You really don't even think about it. You know what I'm saying? Or the push button. You just do it because it's just what you do. Man, I lost Brother Barnett. I was just fixing to ask him something. He's off. I don't see him anymore. Hopefully he'll come back on. His call probably dropped or something like that. That's technology, brother. Sometimes I hope nothing didn't happen where brother had to jump off and respond to something. But dear brother, as we go, there's so many avenues that we can approach this. And I really want to ask, where's my question? I want to ask it exactly how I had it here. I already asked about how to galvanize and consolidate as many of these cases of injustice in the Mississippi Delta. Now, brother, the Barnett, and I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to ask him about the LOC, the Local Organizing Committee, what Brother Kareem and the believers are doing down there, and the brothers and sisters that are involved. Because when we say Local Organizing Committee, it's not just the Nation of Islam, but it's a pantheon of the civil rights organizations. And what are your thoughts, brother, on not just joining a civil rights organization? Yes, we should do all of them. Join somebody as that, because that's what the Honorable Louis Farrakhan asked us to do. Join some church or some organization that's working for the good of our people and to help fight some of the problems and solve some of the problems we have. What are your thoughts on having a local organizing committee throughout the state of Mississippi and down in the South in particular to help begin to address some of these things? What are your thoughts on it?
This Brother Barnett.
Okay, no, that's for you, bro. Brother Barnett he's not on. As soon as he gets back on, if he gets back on, I would like for him to respond as well. But if you could, brother, go ahead and respond to it.
Well, as I said before, find an organization to join because there is power in the collective that you cannot do individually. Some individuals are able to do standout work, but you will find that they are generally part of a larger organization, be it the Nation of Islam, be it the NAACP, be it the Urban League, the local organizing committee, or whatever it is.
Right.
You can accomplish far more as a people. You use the example of the atomic bomb or the hydrogen bomb. You're going to accomplish far more by joining an organization and being dedicated to the purpose of that organization than you are ever going to accomplish on your own. Okay. You know, what you will discover, even when you have people who have money, you know, these well-to-do people who fund a lot of, they don't fund individuals, they fund organizations and they fund movements.
Right.
So if you want to make a difference, join an organization, attend the meetings, attend the activities outside of the meetings, and get active.
Yes.
And when we learn to do that, then we will be able to, as Jesus said, exercise the faith of the mustard seed.
That's right. That is,
and move mountains.
That's right, brother. That's right. And the reason I asked that question because of something you said earlier. As long as a community is vulnerable the way we are, in that we are idle and we are essentially just sitting ducks, whereby we can be easily manipulated and taken advantage of simply because we're not active. That's what the principle means when we say God helps those who help themselves. And if you're not, brothers and sisters, willing to be active, as our brother Trent just expressed, then that's a sign that you're not willing to help, speak up, and act on your own behalf. And God doesn't help people like that. So we got to get out of this state of mind where we just pray things away and expect things to change, and we don't get faith without works is dead, Doc. You know, the Muslims, we have a similar saying: Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change their own condition. So we're here at the 10,000 Fearless, and we're going to be working to establish our local organizing committee. I've been talking with Brother Kareem about it, and to get people involved, and we have to get rid of this autonomous approach, in that we got a lot of organization who's working, but we're not working in the collective. As Brother Kwame Ture used to say all the time, we need operational unity. Well, Brother Trent, man, I think I've taken enough of your time. I didn't see, brother. Let me check again to see that Brother John try to get back on. He may have had to step away, brother, because I don't see him back on the dashboard. But, brother, we're at 8:25. We only have 5 minutes left in tonight's program. I want to thank you, brother, and applaud your work. We definitely appreciate you accepting the invitation and coming and sharing with us what you did share. This platform is available to you, Attorney Walker, to update us and on things that you think need to be known, because as we stated, this is the tip of the iceberg, and I expect to hear more of what's happening to our people down there as our people come forward. So, brother, any parting words that you would like to leave the audience with before you go?
Well, again, thank you for having me. I appreciate this invitation. I appreciate everything that this platform is accomplishing, and I'm sure it will accomplish more as the future unfolds. And I just want everybody to be mindful of what's going on in this world and be active, be politically active. You know, we are on the precipice of having politics in place that'll take us back to the pre-civil rights era. And there are plenty of people who are willing to take us there. And there are plenty of brown and black skinned people who are willing to participate in taking us back there.
Yes, sir. Praise be.
And so,
no, go ahead.
So
brother.
just be I'm just saying, you know, to use the words of the young folks, stay woke.
Come on now. That's right. Man, brothers and sisters, give it up to him. Type a 1, type whatever you feel you need to type on the dashboard to thank our brother for his presentation and sharing with us the details of this most egregious act committed by people who have been entrusted with the public safety. So, brother Trent, thank you, sir. I'm going to let you go, man. God willing, we'll get you back on in the near future. And until then, as we say as Muslims, brother, we say, Assalamu alaikum. That simply means may peace be unto you, sir. All right?
Wa alaikum salam.
Praise be to Allah. That was our brother and friend, Attorney Trent Walker. We appreciate him for being with us tonight. Brothers and sisters, we just got to hit that 10,000 fearless on the move. We got to keep it moving, brothers and sisters. We're going to take a break, as we did not take a break while we were, because the conversation was so hot and heavy, man. I didn't want to stop it. So we're going to take our commercial break and get our announcements in, and we'll be right back after these commercial announcements to close tonight's program. We'll be right back.
20 past 12, chilling in the studio, taking over the world. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you no harm. I say assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you no harm. I don't mean you no see, I come in peace.
Religion as an excuse not to stand up and fight your natural enemy. And the only people on this earth, Brother Alton, the only people on this earth that use their religion and their so-called belief in God.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but 0 fluoride and 0 chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water, 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced? Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
And we are back for the close of tonight's program. Let me first thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for tuning in. Man, I don't know about you, but that was really something to hear. And as we close tonight's program, once again, thank everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. For those of you listening in Marshall County and Holly Springs and that surrounding area, we want you to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. If you want it delivered to your home, you can give us a call at area code 662-252-8999. We can deliver it right to your door. It's only $2 per issue. That's about $8 a month that you will have to spend to receive the Final Call delivered to your door. Or you can write us at Post Office Box 517, Holly Springs, Mississippi 38635. Join our email list, and any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, or to become part of the 10K Fearless Tri-State family, email us at dremuhammad1@gmail.com. We also have available now, for a small donation, we have those Supreme Bean Pies that's available. They come in all the way from Chicago. We have the large and we have the teeny beanie. For just a small donation, we're raising funds so we can stay a viable part of the community. You can come by 165 North Memphis Street and pick you up one or two. We have Dream Bean chips. We still have a few left now. Come by and get some. And we have that 2-pound bag of whiting fish. Y'all know y'all eat whiting fish, or you eat fish every Friday night. Come on now. Come on by 165 North Memphis Street and make a donation as we work to galvanize and to stay afloat, if you will, there in North Mississippi and Holly Springs, Mississippi. Also be reminded, brothers and sisters, our next meeting in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Join us this Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m., 165 North Memphis Street. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. to hear the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'll be striving to deliver that message, yours truly, as a student of the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, your brother here, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. I want to leave you with these words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brothers and sisters, always remember when he said, quote, "No one can attempt to help our people do anything productive and constructive without feeling personal hurt, pain, loss, being spoken of, evil spoken of, falsely accused, sometimes beaten, sent to prison, or even put to death. This is the path of Jesus. This is the path of Muhammad. And this is the path of every sincere person who wants to see his or her people delivered from our present condition. And we will go a long way in aiding and assistance to accomplish that objective, where no one of us would have to suffer these things if we would understand that many hands make light work. So the more of us that are involved, the easier the lifting will be. So remember, dear family, self-improvement is the basis for community development. So that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast, and we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to leave you as we came before you. with the greeting words of peace, of Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you.
Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice, we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See, the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now, Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi.